I think it was something like 145 wins to 170 losses in his blitz history on chess.com. So he can score victories over these players. And today he's proving just that.
Yeah, it's a very impressive stat line. Someone at the national master level to be, basically have a slightly losing record against IMs and even grandmasters is insane. That's impressive. And I think some of the chess that he's shown today is a tribute to that. So here we go with looks like the Scandi. We're back to this Canty against Rosman. Do you like the idea from, I guess, either to go back in this opening?
I always prefer the white side of the positions against the Scandinavian. John Bartholomew, I hope you're watching because hashtag Team Scandi. We'll see if it lasts. But right now, Levy goes back to it. He did win the game with the Scandinavian. It was a wild affair where both sides had chances. But right now, I just like the pawns, C4 and D4. There's ease of access for White's pieces. Development comes naturally. I have to prefer Canty's position.
Well, I was going to ask you, and he played it before I could get to the question. Do you like his take with C5 on the position? Because this is a very unique way of playing. You like this pawns on C4 and D4, but Canty really seems to want to play this position every single time with C5, getting bishop F4 for his bishop, getting on that diagonal, hitting the C pawn, and it does give up that square on D5. Do you think it worked out last time? Like he's repeating it as if it was he was happy with it.
Kind of feels like James gained a tempo though, because that knight was on C6 and the pawn was on A7 for the time being. So doesn't it feel like James is just tempo ahead, and the knight D5 doesn't work anymore because you just take on D5 and win the C7 pawn, and your D4 pawn doesn't hang.
And that might be just a small thing that he may have checked in the break and said, look, I kind of like my position last time, but why don't I just do the same thing up tempo now? I mean, I'm going to need some convincing here, Robert. Why can't I take that pawn on C7?
Yeah, explain that to me. I was going to ask you the same question. Bishop takes C7.
I got you. I asked you first.
That's a free pawn. And then just play bishop anywhere, and bishop H2 was the choice. You're just up a pawn here.
That's what it looks like. I mean, no doubt there's going to be some pressure, and you can see like that D pawn is going to be targeted by Levy, but that's the exact same way that the previous game worked, except there was a pawn on C7.
Right, and you made this point when that pawn was on C7. If Black moves the knight from F6, in comes the knight to E4, and then to the D6 square. So this looks really bad for Levy, who's just down a pawn. And how is he going to drum up compensation? I don't see it. I get that the D4 pawn looks like it's under attack, but you really are just down a pawn.
Yeah, and the move knight, like I think he's probably going to take this. Maybe just go knight E5. He goes knight E4. He wants that D6 square. But basically, if the queens get traded, the only trick I can see maybe happening in this position is some sort of pin on the D file with bishop takes C5 with a loose rook there after queen exchange on E2. But I'm reaching here, Robert. Just trying to find some ideas in Levy's position.
And I mean, look at this queen on E4. The knight can't move from D5. You drop B7. One idea for James going forward is knight E5, knight to C4. I think, okay, so he plays B6, which invites pawn takes pawn, but maybe after knight takes, he says, all right, you have an isolated D pawn, trading off some of the queen side material is beneficial, but there could be a queen B7 at the end of that.
Yeah, queen B7, I mean, let's be clear, that's a pawn. I think he's got to go back to D5, but it's so Canty in this match to take all the pawns that he's offered. So he's
E5, rook takes D5, and then you win the bishop on E7. That's happening.
Oh,
he found it.
No.
Look at him. Look at this guy go.
Look at that boy. Oh, man, that's very impressive. He's not settling for the pawn.
He's incredible right now. The shape that he is in this match really is something.
Yep, super impressive. So he's got two pieces for the rook. Definitely favors Canty. And don't forget, he's even got an extra pawn that he took a while ago. So he is he's doing very well here. And Levy is going to need a miracle to get back in this game.
And queen D3 would hope to be that miracle. But the thing is, it wouldn't have worked out. You're trying to get it back on checkmate. White would have thrown in queen takes E8 check first. and distracted the rook from the c file. So here, just rook f1, good move. This knight can come into e5. The d5 pawn is hanging. Just move your bishop away to give the king some space, and this should be a very easy conversion, honestly, for James Canty.
And don't forget about this bishop. A lot of people forget that it controls the b8 square. It's just so far away. But if white, gets attacked, rook d8, he can go queen b7, hitting both pawns, keeping a watch on his b2 pawn, and it can't be kicked away on c7 or on b8. So it's very safe on b7 there.
For sure. So this is, I don't even, now 95 should just win f7.
Bishop g3, queen takes f1.
Oh, that is so nasty. Queen
That's
takes
what
F1.
he wants. That's what he wants.
Yeah, 95 closes the e file. So queen f1,
Yeah.
I just take, and my king can run to e2. f7 is currently hanging. So
very, very good play by Canty. It feels like right when he needs to be accurate, he pauses. He's not playing too instinctive. Like bishop g3, a lot of people might whip out that move like, oh yeah, that gets my king the h2 square. I'm safe. Not at all.
no. And now just move the queen away somewhere, anywhere, queen d7 back, because the knight can't be captured as the rook on c8 needs that rook on e8's defense.
Yep.
Okay, queen h5 also great move for sure.
Knight f7 to d6 is the current threat. Knight g6 is always on the cards. And he goes back to g8. Happy with a draw is Levy in this position. As you can see that eval bar, it's practically going for a touchdown, trying to touch the 8th rank.
And I think that bishop g3 is just the move that you need here to make sure your king never gets in any danger. He does with queen f7. He probably goes queen f5 and wanted a different square for the queen. And at long last, he can say, okay, I can breathe now. I have the 2 minor pieces for the rook. I also have that extra pawn. My king is safer. I'm up 30 seconds. Everything's going right for Canty in this game.
And I think he might just go king g8 back. Canty needs bishop g3, and I think Levy needs to go king g8 here.
So there's rook f8. Watch out for it. Queen takes f2 check. Watch out for that kind of back rank checkmate.
Oh, that's so tricky from Levy. And I think Canty, once again, looks like he's taking his time. If he doesn't spot that, that could be a nasty puzzle rush win.
But I think he has to spot it because the only move that it would lose is queen g4, for example. So that, okay, it was knight f7. Oh, smothered checkmate attempt. That was,
wow.
That was clever.
And he can take a queen trade here, and I think he probably should, just for the simplicity of the position. He might look for more, but that's already enough. He can play knight h6 first, take the queen at any point.
I don't like how he's spending his time here, though. He's proven to struggle in time trouble. So his knight g5 check, protects his queen, and the queen trade is happening. Levy trades him, and the knight's coming to d4, and that's a nice square for that knight. Bishop to e5 next.
Okay, everything looks controlled. Bishop f4 to e3, or bishop e5 and f4. And he's got the setup here. Levy's in trouble. Everything protects everything here.
It's the perfect configuration of pieces. Rook c7 coming. Knight f5 can be played to pile up. Oh, this is just, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better situation for
clinical. He gets that move off like at the buzzer.
And it's not going to help, right? Bishop
Bishop
has to be
g7.
Checkmate.
Yeah, that king is running up to h4, and it's actually going to be king h5, king g6 looks the most convincing.
Yeah.
Nice.
And there has to be a checkmate here. Rook e7, bishop f6 he plays. All right, the king is going to have to run to c8. Oh, rook e6, and then just trade rooks. Rook e6. Okay.
Rook e6, bishop d8.
Wait. The rook's protected on e3.
Yeah, it's protected.
I was like, oh no. But okay.
He pre-moves g takes h5. He knows what's up.
Oh my gosh, James Canty up.
Can we talk about James Canty for a second? Like, what are we seeing here? This is an insane performance from what I think it's fair to say a lot of people are going to call him the underdog on paper. I'm in that group as well. This is really impressive by Canty. And did he look at this as well? Is he changing this from e5? I thought e5 was good for him. He says, no, I've looked at this maybe in the break. e6 is better.
And he plays e6, and Levy did that thing where you pause because you don't expect the move, but you don't want to let your opponent know that, right? So you pause for a second and then make a pretty quick response anyway. But James is the one switching it up. He's the one with the lead. He's the one who's honestly, to my eyes, he's kind of been playing the better chess today. So he should be confident, but you need to settle down. Both players need to settle down because Levy, at the end of the day, he's the international master. He, throughout his history, has been the stronger player between the two. He, of course, can catch up, and he's proven, especially as we get to the quicker time controls, that in time trouble, he has been the stronger player. So I think both sides, they can take their pluses thus far and not get ahead of ourselves because there's a long match ahead.
There certainly is. And I think it's fair to say, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't seen a lead in this match of more than 1 point. So if this game swings in Canty's direction, that could be the first sort of sizable lead that that Levy is going to have to deal with.
Yeah, and that's tough on the emotions. And we talked about this from the top of the show, is that when you are the favorite, there is pressure on you, whether you want it to be there or not. Like, people expect you to win. You expect yourself to win. You're not playing the kind of casual, comfortable chess you would if you're just playing someone who's at your level or even stronger than you are. So I think Canty has been thriving in this environment. And right now, even on the clock, I do like White's pawn structure, and D6 especially. That's going to be a thorn in black
Bishop F6,
side.
Bishop D3.
Oh, the queen gets trapped.
I guess there's Bishop C3 check. Can't forget that move inserted, but I think it's still good for White there.
Yeah. And Bishop D8, that seems smart. The bishop come to A5 with check. The queen is the F6 square or the E6 square in the event of bishop to D3. The king on E1 is kind of safe, but as this game continues, I could see it getting in some trouble.
Yeah, and I don't think that Levy's upset playing king F2. Like, if bishop A5 happens, it might be in his plans to play king F2 without the check. So I think he's okay with that.
And look at knight b4. That's threatening knight c2 check. So you probably have to move your king away. Otherwise, you play rook h2, but I don't like the look of rook h2.
Yeah, rook c1, king f2, both look pretty reasonable. The knight, if it gets kicked out eventually by a3, always has the c6 square, so it's going to reroute back to the center of the board.
Yeah, that's the one really bad thing about playing d6. Well, it just keeps that bishop on c8 locked in and can't. Black can't play d6. You give up the c6 square and the diagonal. So b6 followed by bishop b7, maybe even b5 if you want to rush it. But I don't love the look of b5, as c5 also becomes weak after that.
Yeah, b5, very committal, for sure. That's a move that we've seen from Levy in the other opening that we've seen a lot of today in the Caro-Kann. But in this position, it looks like a bit of a reach, and I think we'll see king f2 almost immediately. There it is.
Yeah, and I wonder if James wants to play b6 but didn't like the look of his bishop on d8. So if he plays b6 now, at least his bishop is over here on a5, quote unquote active. It's not really doing anything.
Definitely. Yep, knight e2, just developing here for Levy. I mean, a3 is always there to kick the knight back, but he's probably saying, look, like, I don't really need to do that if I don't have to. g5, now that the rook is protected on h1, you can't take that pawn. White will play h takes g5, and even if you throw in rook h1, probably you can play she takes f6 and f takes g7, which would be a crazy line.
You know, just as I was saying that Canty was playing the better chess today, this is a great game by Levy thus far. It seems like he's just in charge from the very start. And this queen on f5, that's a queen that's in trouble. Knight g3 comes to mind. Let's kick that queen with a tempo. There's e4, similar. Let's kick the queen. Ooh,
yeah, e4. Where does this queen go, by the way? Yeah, h5. I mean, we've seen that queen on h7 before, but I'm not
Bishop
sure
takes
she's
f7
happy
check.
to be there.
The queen gets trapped.
Over.
Bishop f7
yeah,
g6.
he sees that in a heartbeat. And
boom.
By the way, the queen is trapped regardless of if you take that or not. So king f8. Oh man, this is just gruesome, and that's a KO, as they say.
Yeah, it's about resign time. And if you're James, you probably want more games in the longer time controls. So yeah, that resignation.
Very, very nice there. He basically got into a position that I think after he played d6, don't know if it was the best move, but I like the idea of d6, cramping the position and taking it into, I guess, a position we've never seen before in the match.
And as much fun as I make of the French defense, which is what Levy is playing, I think it's a very good choice for him to not keep going into these Scandinavians or these Caro-Kanns where James has proven to get good positions. So look at this, a quick castle queenside. Watch out for the move d4 to d5. That can be a problem for Black in many of these positions, especially with your king still in the center. So this is already a fascinating looking position, but Canty seemingly prepared based on how quickly he's played.
Yeah, both of these guys seem to know what's going on. The eval bar were right in the middle. And I mean, White always has some slight advantage here. Often you bring the knight back to c3 on these lines and maybe go for a quick d5 move. But I'm wondering what, after, because he put the bishop on d5, like after knight c3, is he almost planning to go like c6? Like, I'm wondering what his intentions are there.
Yeah, he probably would have played c6 and said, you know, you'll take my bishop. We'll have opposite colored bishops, but at least my pawn structure looks better. And so
Mhm.
Canty just says, I'm going to slide my king over to b1, and now you have to find some moves. So c6 was played, even though the bishop's not under attack. Knight c3 is possible pretty much whenever, so there's no rush to play it.
Yep.
But what is the plan here? And what is the plan for both sides, honestly?
Well, it'd be nice to kick the bishop out. Like b3, c4 always comes to mind, but b3 is kind of well met by b4, and you can never play c4 without dealing with en passant there. So it's hard to kick that bishop out. Hey, he might need to just bring that knight back anyway, and he does. So I think Levy is already kind of happy with the opening, the way this knight is just bouncing around.
Yeah, and black is going to play knight d7, knight b6, try to bring that knight into the attack. So I would agree with that. I think that black is much more comfortable with the position that you have now versus some of the other ones you can get in this variation of the French. And if I am James, I'm probably going to take this bishop and then move my knight. And I want to get my bishop to h5. It's a common plan against this pawn structure because the f7 square can be a bit of a nuisance to deal with.
Yeah, like if black ever wants to castle queenside, suddenly bishop h5, not only can you not advance that pawn, but that pawn on f7, how do you defend it with the pieces you have? You have to stick a rook on f8 and basically leave it there the whole game.
Yeah. And, well, James doing this, bringing his pieces towards the center. He's done that all match. He is slightly ahead in the clock, but about level on time thus far. And, well, for Levy's decision time, do you play knight to b6? Do you castle queenside, which is not unsafe for the king, but we did mention that f7 pawn. That's one that I would try to go after if I were James Canty.
Not the worst thing. There's also bishop b4, which puts pressure on the knight, pins it, and I mean, if you could take it, obviously a2 would be hanging.
Right.
So he does go knight b6.
I like your idea with knight d2. I mean, we were talking about the bishop getting to h5, but the knight can also get to b3. He goes knight h4. That has to be the wrong side of the board.
I mean, you see what he's looking at, right? Like he sees these knight f5 tricks, and with his rook on e1, I think he was kind of setting that up for a few moves, but it does seem like it shouldn't work. And black's attack is actually the more dangerous one.
Yeah, bishop b4, he played it, and you have to play a3 now because bishop takes c3, followed by queen takes a2 check is a deadly threat. So you're getting a bad pawn structure.
Knight a4 at the end as well.
Wait, knight d5?
Well, I mean, there's no queen move here that attacks anything relevant, I think. So that is.
Yeah, and if queen c1, can you play knight c3 check? Does that work? Probably not.
Knight c3 takes a3.
A3 just barely saves the day.
King a2, yeah. But I mean, no harm, no foul taking that material.
But you know what's interesting about this is that white's position does start to feel safer despite being down the material. So you give up material, you're unhappy about that. Levy's position for sure is better, but look at the clock situation. So Levy is spending his time here, whereas we're talking about you can take a clean exchange with bishop takes e1. He's trying to figure out the tactics, and maybe he will play knight c3 check because that was my first instinct as well. I think I can just go for checkmate instead of the material.
Yeah, he might even be looking at like bishop c3 or just some wild moves. Like there's so many things to consider here. But at the end of the day, look at how much time he's spent, and he has gone for it. A3 has to be on the board. The only move to stop queen to b4 check.
And then a3, if black plays b4, there's bishop c4, king a2, as you were mentioning. I don't know if there's enough.
It's going to get crazy. And remember, he used all his time to do this. So if it doesn't work out, he could be in big trouble here.
But I see the evaluation bar drop like crazy.
And I don't know why, honestly.
I know why. Queen d5
queen
check
d5.
first. Yeah.
Yes. Queen d5 was huge, but now it's transposed back into the other line with bishop e3. This is not clear at all.
This is actually just think not good for black because now actually the king on a2 is safe because that pawn a3 is the shield, it's an umbrella pawn, and now the material is such two minor pieces for the rook that a3 pawn will fall later in this game.
This is not good.
No,
this
it's
is
not at all.
Good. He's going to run that a pawn, a5, a4. That's what he wants to do. But Canty is the one getting his pieces involved here.
And look at the clock situation. 5.6 seconds left for Levy and
What a
plenty
move.
of time for James. Queen e7 checkmate if you take the rook. So
I love that move, queen a3.
And he can just take on a4. No, he takes the bishop on a4. Yeah, I was saying.
Wow, brave move.
Well, two minor pieces better than a rook.
Yep. Knight e3 or knight g3, bishop back to b3, bring the king back in the center. I think Canty can take that pawn as well.
Don't get mated. D5.
Yeah, that's what to worry about.
So
D5 looks like a great move played by Canty. He finds those moves when he needs to.
and 1.7 seconds. Levy's barely getting some of these moves off, but he's really proven like he can play these bullet scrambles.
Yeah, bishop b5 takes on d5. Careful.
Mm-hmm. Tactics available, and Canty has plenty of time, so he knows he's winning. He just needs to d6 now. Now play d6 for sure.
Yeah, and if rook d4 takes, knight takes f5, d3 looks a little bit tricky still. He's probably considering what the repercussions are. Should be winning for white. He's got 2 connected pawns. The knight's there as well.
Yep, and d7 first. That way the bishop can't be captured as a queen. Play bishop a. Oh, knight d5 check. Knight d5 wins the rook.
Yeah, knight d5 wins the game. Bishop f3 or bishop a4. And the accuracy from Canty when he needed it there, starting with queen a3, queen c1 takes a3, and it is now 5.5 to 4.5. So right after a crush from Levy Rosmi, traps Canty's queen, and arguably the most decisive most decisive game of this match. Canty comes right back and says, "Oh no, you're not getting on a streak here against me."
And look at this. Levy goes for, James didn't play knight e4 like he has been. Instead, he plays queen to b6. So James did not like that previous game. He switches the opening up, but I tend to like these positions from the white side. But what James is trying to do is just lock the board down and say, I'm going to hold a passive worse position. You have to prove that you can win. I'm ahead on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and I feel like we've almost seen this position without the b2 pawn. So Levy's got to be happy.
Yeah, right. He gets to keep even material, and now moves like b4 are on the docket for white. h5.
Very interesting. I am not sure. Yeah, and you mentioned b4. It's out there, and if b takes c5 happens, I mean, you got to move the queen first of all. But after bc5, again, it's like there goes the b pawn. So basically, white's missing the b pawn that he's missed in every single game they played this. The black's suddenly missing a d pawn.
Yeah, this is sort of strange to me, I would say. James has been playing very well, and this game doesn't quite make sense because he didn't like what he was getting. There's something about it that was uncomfortable. He did get crushed in that previous game. It was Levy's best game of the match. But then he goes to this, which is just pretty clearly, objectively bad for black. Yeah,
white, you can see the eval bar, plus 2.5. And let me tell you guys, white's not up anything material-wise. 2.5 evaluation, that's almost like a knight or a bishop. Being up a knight without actually being up a knight means your position is really, really good.
Yeah, although that can mislead people to think, especially if you're newer to chess, that, oh, well, white's completely winning. Well, prove it, right? You're not even up a single piece. It's not actually clear how you win this game, but we can tell you one idea for white is knight d2, knight c4, put that knight on that great square where it attacks the bishop, it attacks the center. c5 is weak, e5 is weak. White can play pawn to f4 to explode the position with the king sitting on f8. This is really, really bad.
Yeah, I think after knight d2, knight c4, the nasty thing is you follow up with a5 and then even play knight a4 after that. And with the knight pressuring the d6 bishop and the knight on a4 pressuring the c5 pawn, there's no b6 to stabilize. And I think things just fall apart. Not to mention that bishop on c8, it's got nothing to do. After black plays g5, you can always meet it with f3 and just lock everything down.
I mean, look at the bishop on b8, bishop on c8, rook on a8. They have not come to play this game. And black is trying desperately to play g5, g4. So I would not have even allowed that, probably. I would have put my own bishop on g5 to stop the pawn from getting there. But where's the attack? It seems like you're trying to wish an attack into existence, but you're not actually getting one.
No, this is tough. After d6, I mean, just look at those 3 pieces, Robert. c8, b8, a8. Those are the guys that come into the basketball gym with their duffel bag to play pickup ball, but are too shy to ask to play or something. I mean, those poor guys. Oh, knight e8 as well. There's a whole bench of them.
And more coming, it's already there are 15 people and they're switching out teams, but more of them. Come on, bring your friends. And this is bad. I mean,
may as well just get that knight to h8 somehow for style points. I'm willing to give you like 0.2 of a point if you make that happen,
Oh gosh. Yeah, the reinforcements are here. This hurts.
I will point out, Robert, I think this is the first game, just positionally speaking, where I think I'd like to point out just the difference in title. I think this is Levy showing his IM title in a positional format. There's been so many tactical games between these guys, but start to finish from this game right here, Levy is showing some really, really good chess.
And it's the second game in a row with the white pieces that Levy has been able to just kind of squish all of James's chances from the start of the game. So there's something in this Trapowski attack that James struggles with. And I'm sure we're going to get a break relatively soon, and he will need that break to study this opening.
Ooh, e5 falling. I mean, this is just, there's no attack happening here. Up a minute, let's not forget, it's not like Levy is, playing all these moves and then he's down on time again. No, he's up a minute, he's crushing on the board.
He certainly is. And this is our final game before we take a break. It's a halfway point in this time control. And I think it comes at a great time for James and for Levy. You're like, well, now I'm feeling it. Like, this is the chess that I've been playing my whole life. It hasn't necessarily shown throughout the earlier stages of today, but this is Gotham chess at its finest.
Absolutely. King H1, just taking that extra moment. I mean, you want to take this knight, but there follows bishop takes H3. So just getting out of trouble, and James plays bishop takes H3. This is what we call desperation, Robert. There's no other way to describe it. This does not work, but his position was drawing dead. So he's just throwing it out there.
And he's hoping that after G takes H3, Queen C8, Levy forgets that his deep pawn can move, because D7 just cuts off that queen from the attack. But what you need to do is get your queen over there. So, hey, well, now Queen C8 becomes more of a threat. So keep an eye on that.
D6 falls with check, though. So there's just like
Queen takes D6
D1.
right now is good. Queen D6, Bishop C5.
Yeah.
Just would have.
Yep. That would have been a
out.
nice little lights out maneuver there. It only wins a pawn, but it simplifies the game. Exactly. I think Rook D1 is just crushing here.
Yep. And he's now closed down any hope for a kingside attack. He is up a full piece. Levy Rosman, Gotham Chess, is going to take this one for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. He's got this game. King's on H1. It's out of danger. I mean, James just doesn't have enough pieces to contribute to a meaningful attack here. And F3 says, yeah, if you even thought about sacking on G4, it's not happening.
No. And, even if you do it, I have the reinforcements I need.
Knight E4. He just says no. Rook B6, and I think we might see resigns here.
Yeah, it's about that time, isn't it? Just take on C6, Rook F6 check, and then take the Rook on D2.
Rook takes C7 if you want some extra points. Rook F6 if you want even more extra points.
And just the Rook goes bye-bye and resign.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a demolition. That really was a one-sided affair, and Levy flexed on James. And I think you're right, Aman, that he used his wealth of experience, right? He has that IM title. He has played so much great chess. He studied the game very thoroughly. Yeah. He just squeezed the life out of James's position.
Yeah, you said it well. There's no other way to put it. Basically, the last two games that we've seen from Levy have been crushes, and they've been with the white pieces. So James is going to have to go into this break and really evaluate what's been going wrong in those games, because we haven't seen that the whole match. So all of a sudden, what may be concerning for James Canty III is that when he's losing games with the black pieces, they're happening really quickly, and he's kind of getting crushed. So he's going to have to go reevaluate. Levy, on the other hand, once he stabilizes with the black pieces, I mean, we could see a blow-up match with the way he's been playing with white.
For sure. If I'm James, all I'm doing in this short break is looking at the black side of this Trapowski attack, just trying to figure out a line that makes me feel more confident, because right now it is not working out. But Aman and I are going to take a break. We will return shortly with more coverage of this Gotham Canty I'm Not GM Speeches Championship match. And as we return, getting ready for more 3-minute plus 1 second increment time control games, we have to enjoy that the match is tied up 5.5, 5.5. For those of you who root for the underdogs, James Canty III came to play. And Aman, what do you think going forward here after James just suffered a pretty brutal defeat to Levy Rosman?
I think that James is probably happy to have that break. The last 2 games that he had the black pieces in, let's say it bluntly, he got crushed. We haven't seen that in this match so far. So I think he's really happy that he gets to take time to regroup, check those games over maybe, and say, look, what went wrong in those games that wasn't happening the rest of the match? So I think he wanted that break. And Levy, probably a little bit upset. He was just starting to find his rhythm, his momentum. He just got a crushing win. And all of a sudden, the guys are on break. So we're going to come back from this break, and we'll have to see how it affects the players. But I think that Canty was happy to just, revamp after that last game.
Yeah, he gets to look over his openings, both with the black color, where he struggled against the Trapowski attack, and then with the white pieces, he now needs to figure out, is Levy going to continue playing the French? Is he going to go back to that Caro-Kann and we'll get the Panov again? Will he go for the Scandinavian, which we saw a couple of times? And for Levy, he can say, hey, I've been playing better chess as the match has gone on. That should bode well for my chances in the bullet. And, well, we have the answer. Scandinavian it is.
Yep, and once again, knight f6, and we're going to see this line repeated. I don't think that, Levy's gotten some results in this line, but I don't think Canty can be too upset. He played a crushing game last time, but Levy has probably also looked at that move order.
Yeah, and well, we see that e6. Now James is thinking he's down 10 seconds. Why? We haven't really seen him spend so much time, and he's had this position before. So I wonder what's happening that caused him a moment of pause there.
And Levy goes bishop d4, and I think that what's been happening is that Canty is he's playing this position again, and he's kind of pausing because he's like, wait a minute, why is Levy? Why does he want to go for this again? These have been good positions for me, and he's maybe just pausing and thinking, should I change things up? Because maybe he looked at this in the break. In the end, he goes for c4, and bishop b4 check is kind of the new idea by Levy instead of bishop d6.
And he takes, which gives white these double pawns, but the semi-open b file to work with. Only white has a dark squared bishop, which can be useful in f4 or g5 later in the game. And one of the big questions, as always, do you just castle and give up the c3 pawn? I would.
I would say yes, yeah. I wouldn't spend much time on it. I would castle. Canty has done that. I personally don't think Levy is going to take that pawn, but we'll see. He could have a different strategy coming in.
No, he castles. It's just too risky. You take on c3, you do win a pawn for the time being, but white, his moves like bishop b2 and pawn d5, and the board opens up. It was black's king that would be in danger. So instead, he simply castles. Rook to b1 is a good move, and that rook can b5 and then swing to the king side, which is propped by Levy protected b7 with the queen.
Yep. Yeah, if you play b6, then basically you give this exact same move, but with a tempo.
Right. And, well, where is Levy going to develop that knight? I would want, at first glance, I would have wanted to play knight b to d7, knight to b6. But with that rook on b5, I'm like, well, what am I really gaining from this maneuver?
Yeah, and a knight on b6, even if you play queen a4 to somehow attack that pawn, there's always c5, and that pawn on b7 ends up hanging. So Canty already off to, I would say, a good start. He's got this rook b5 idea, and careful on that king side, because there could be a lot of firepower. Knight e5 to g4, and as you mentioned, Robert, that rook swinging over could be the theme of this game.
Yeah, it's a dangerous position, but h6 play, just saying no rook to g5, no bishop to g5. You would like to put your pawn on g5 if you're white, but g4 seems to hang a pawn on the square there. So I don't think you can get away with it, but it gives you a hook is my essential point.
Right. Lots of moves for white here. Rook e1, bishop f4, even knight e5. They all look very reasonable. H6, I think, is important to stop that rook from swinging over to g5. But one of the reasons that white's attack could be so successful in this game is that queen on a6 so far away from the king. It can't really get over to help with defense, as James is thinking a lot here, Robert.
Actually, what you just said inspired me. g4 it is. You take me on g4. I'll play h3, king h2 or h1, rook g1, and maybe instead of h3, just king h1 and rook g1 and just go for the attack. Whoa!
Talk about going for the attack here. Like, what's the follow-up? Is he playing queen e5 to g3 with some knight sacrifice. Like, what's on the cards here? Queen e3, and after king there, is it going to be knight g5 takes, rook takes with mate threat?
Oh my goodness, that seems to be what he's going for. And if you start with king g7, maybe there's rook g5 check, where you give up your rook and then your queen slithers in there and wins the knight on f6, and that king is in real danger on the h file.
Yep, and keep in mind that the initial sacrifice, the computer is probably like, whoa, 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 whoa. And now it's creeping back to equal. When you sacrifice a piece and you're attacking the king and it's equal, you've done something right.
100%. And king g7 was in fact played. Moves like knight e5 are tempting in addition to that rook g5 check. Rook g5, king h7. Where's the crushing factor? Because if you don't find something concrete, you have given up a piece for just one pawn.
Yep, absolutely. Rook g5 takes, king h8.
Take on f6, at least a draw there.
Yeah, and if king h7, okay, he goes for this, and I think this is absolutely correct. What an attack so far. 34 seconds, he just punches it in. There's plus 1 second increment, but if Levy gets low on time here, defending a crazy attack like this is not what you want to be doing.
Not at all. And actually, maybe after king h7, you just play rook g3 with the idea being you're going to play rook h3 next. And there really is an attack here. Knight e5 comes to mind, queen d3 check. You have so many different options. And playing against this attack, it's too scary, especially in a blitz game.
Absolutely agree. I feel like the eval bar is like, yeah, it's a draw, guys. Go figure it out. I'm taking the day off. You know, like I can't. I've done enough swinging in this match. Like, there's no way I can calculate all of this.
No, and that's the thing about this is this happens to grandmasters plenty, right? There are openings played, and then someone makes a sacrifice because you didn't leave your engine going for long enough. It doesn't see that deeply, and that sacrifice works out even though you thought it wouldn't. So I think here, rook g3 to start makes sense. And one important point to note is if black plays rook g and takes on g3, white will take with the f pawn to open up the f file, another avenue of attack.
Yeah, rook g3 and like knight e5, queen e5. He wants to take on f6, but hello, knight d7. I think he forgot that.
Oof.
He's going to go queen g3 and try to take, but now it's not working for sure.
No.
He forgot knight d7, and this could be a win for Levy. A big defense.
And we'll see, because the king is still really unsafe. He plays rook g. That is a smart move. He doesn't have to think of the tactics. 2 pawns for the piece, but that's not enough here.
No. Queen c6, threatening queen f3, has to be queen f4.
And queen takes c4. Rook g4 also looks good. And Levy down to 7.8 seconds, but 7.9, I should say, and James near the same. So anything can happen in the time scramble, but Levy is just up material.
He's up material, yeah. h3 by white is probably a move you want to throw in, just necessary.
For sure.
Well, check that time. Levy's time is taken down. h4 threatens h5.
Oh, I don't really like h5 for black because that pawn's on a loose square, but still, black, of course, is doing very well here.
Queen f3 hits f7 as well.
Yeah. And take on f7? Uh-oh. Oh, he doesn't
but then
take
rook g7, and d1 is hanging.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay. Oh, he's barely getting the moves up. Queen f3, and it's a draw of queen g4. So he plays rook e1.
Oh, but getting the king to g7 is huge for Levy. It might not look like much, but that knight is going to sneak in f4. Time is incredible here.
Rook takes g3 check. Oh, rook g3 was hanging with the queen on b6.
King h2, I like that move for white. Queen f3, hitting the pawn.
Yep. And the rook's on e4. Oh, queen takes h5. That's a big pawn to lose because now if the rook moves.
Okay, takes queen f3. Oh, f2's hanging, and then queen f5. Oh,
he didn't take it.
He mouse slipped maybe.
No, but he's going to take it now. I guess it didn't matter. He is a piece that 95 too powerful.
Oh my goodness.
If I'm James, I'm resigning. I want more 3-minute
look like a mouse flip.
Yeah, it kind of did, right? Stop one move short. One square short, I said. Queen takes b7?
Yeah, hang on. I would play this out. Check and don't check.
Oh, queen a8, take on a7 with check. Okay, had to go queen f8.
Okay, and nicely done.
Yeah.
Nice done. Queen f2 is the threat.
Queen f2 check would have won here.
Oh my goodness, check again.
Queen d5 check would have traded queens.
Oh, he blundered the queen.
Yeah, he just laughed about it kind of. He's like,
it's too much to ask. Wow. That felt like a bullet game because we spent so much time at the 3 seconds apiece portion. That was insane.
That was extremely wild. And James goes for bishop takes h6, which was completely unnecessary, but still dazzling. And
Yep.
I don't know if it was truly justified, but he went with it and he paid the price.
Levy looks like he's playing this game, like his hand is playing this game, but his brain is still in the last game. He's just like, what the hell just happened there?
Well, his position is bad with white on move 7, right? Knight d5
Yeah.
was played. If the bishop goes this way, knight e3 comes to mind, or just take on
already.
e5 first. And yeah, this feels like there's too many loose squares in white's position to be truly comfortable. Just take him at e6. That's what he's going to do. This is bad.
This is bad. I like knight e3. I would take that bishop.
That was my first instinct. But then I was like, wait, maybe I'll just be a little calmer. He says no.
Yeah. No, I think that e6 is the better move, maybe, but I just can't refuse.
Just knight takes g3. There's no mate. Knight takes g3.
Levy throwing in that in-between move, but hang on. He's just thinking about it now, and he knows that he missed that. Oh no.
Yeah, his face, his reaction there was like, what am I doing?
He wanted the brilliancy prize. I'm just going to show quickly what Levy wanted. Queen g6 checkmate. Hello, but doesn't work like that. Knight takes g3, and he's down. What is it? 2 pieces, Robert?
Yeah, he could take on d7, but that just gets 1 piece back and trades queens, and the black king is safe. So what's interesting about that moment right there is I didn't really like white's position anyway, but it felt like what James had done, kind of like an unnecessary tactical idea, and it backfired more immediately for Levy than it did for James, but still, that was clearly an oversight.
Don't play knight e5 or knight c5 here, Robert. I guess knight e5 is okay.
Yeah.
Knight c5 takes an f7 and you lose your queen.
You're right. So he plays knight h5, bringing the knight back into the game. He's up 2 pieces right now.
Yeah, it's just crazy. You have to take on d7, unfortunately. It's just, you must do that.
What about queen d5 here?
Queen d5. Yeah, that's a funny one. Queen d5. I like it. I like queen d5.
I think queen d5, you had to play knight e5 and sacrifice your knight that way. And you're winning.
Yeah,
but
and then just knight f6 after.
It forced you to at least find a single move there. Just play e6. James, you're up a piece.
Takes, king back or g6, all fine. The knight's going to come to f6. So a full extra, piece for Canty. He's got the 2 bishops as well. There's a rook on h3. Everything's wrong here for Levy, but that doesn't need reiterating. It's just, can James Canty III put this game away and tie this match up again?
Well, I think Levy's doing the right thing by playing on. First of all, there's a king on f7 that could become a problem later. It's not going to. But also, Levy has been the better player in time control. This is devastating. Queen b2, queen g1.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
because queen c3, like hitting the rook and hitting that, not only is there bishop b4 winning the queen, but there's bishop g7. There's queen takes check on g1. There's just nothing works here.
Yeah, queen takes b2. He's going to play on, though, because he wants to get to the bullet portion without seeing his match score go down, right? If he loses this game, or when he loses this game, because he's material, he will still be tied in the match, and he is the favorite in the bullet. So I think it's smart in terms of match strategy to play on here.
Yeah, this is as over as a game gets, really. James is up on time. The evaluation is like at -14. I don't know. This is like some sort of Cleveland Browns spread or something. What are we watching here?
Hey, the Browns just won the playoff games, so don't hate on them too much.
No, I was cheering for them against the Steelers.
Yeah, that wasn't even a game, right? The first quarter was 28-0. That was ridiculous. But this position is kind of like that, actually. After 7 moves or whatever it was, James was up a piece. So yeah, this is no good. But that queen on a1, not helping. Queen h7 check is a threat. Rook takes d7 comes to mind. So you have to be a little bit careful if you're James, and probably knight to f6 just has none of any of that for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a check, but h7 is covered, g6 is covered. Ugh.
Yeah, queen is going to go to c1 now.
Yeah, that queen on b2 is like, the kid in Capture the Flag who's hiding out in your territory for the whole round. You sort of forget about him.
Sure, then it's the right moment just pounces and takes the flag.
He just pops off and grabs the flag and starts running.
It's the hero that you need, but not the one you deserve.
So there's knight e5 check and there's queen h7 check. We got checks threatened.
Oh, 95. Okay. King f8. King e8. Also, there's no checks after that.
Yeah, e8, queen h7. There's queen e5. Yeah, so
check. But it does look like Levy's made progress. And he's also up on time. And we've seen James blunder in time trouble.
yeah. Yeah, like let's talk about the fact that the pieces that James is up, he hasn't moved yet, right? They are on the queen side. So it's like, it's a matter of time before that happens. And what is he setting up here? Some sort of like knight g6 or queen h7 move. He's got some hopes.
Okay, you can't play b6 next because your rook on a8 is hanging. So it's like frustrating because you're, of course, winning with the black pieces, but you need to make moves like rook to b8. And James played the move quickly, so that's a good move to play. And the time deficit is about to be nothing. Okay, king e8, safe move.
Yeah. e6 is covered. He's just going to go back. He wants queen h7 now. That's the idea. But Canty is not having any of that. Knight g4, bishop g7. Everything looks covered.
Wow.
Queen g6 check, king f8.
It's just amazing. Our bishop g7.
h6.
Wait, but bishop g7, queen g6 check, and if queen f7, there's rook d8, right?
Yep, and there's knight h6.
Oh, gosh.
Knight takes h6.
Wait, this is actually a bit scary. Is a queen g6 check, you have to king king f8 maybe?
Yeah, I think queen g6 check. I mean, we need to see that on the board.
Whoa, c4.
That can't be it.
But it's at least causes confusion because b6 may loosen the c6 square, or b5 is played, but maybe there's a check on c6 at some point that you have to watch out for. So queen h7, queen f7 now. If there's rook f8, okay.
Canty still hasn't really established the rest of his pieces in this game, and I think he's about to.
Yeah, he got it.
Bishop d7 is huge. Now the knight on g4 is covered by the bishop on g7. Canty is, I think he's fine now.
And bishop d4 check should be sufficient. Okay, where's the mate?
Bishop b5 wins. There it is.
Oh, and that's that.
And I mean, honestly, like I'm pretty impressed that Levy took the game that far. That was really impressive. But let's not forget that game was actually just Canty taking advantage of Levy's blunder of a full piece in the opening, going for a fancy move e6.
Yep. And so the match is now tied, and now we have a French again. And it's not your everyday French, where black has double pawns, and white didn't have to give up the dark square bishop to encourage black to get those double pawns. Wait a second, queen f3 is coming if you play bishop b7, so be careful. Yeah,
I guess you can survive with like queen d7 because the knight is nowhere near.
But f6 is hanging in those lines?
Oh, yeah, f6 is hanging. So yeah, that's true.
This is weird. And
bishop d7 is just not the move you want to do. And by the way, even after bishop d7, queen f3, knight e7, like bishop takes d7, you have to take the king, f6 is hanging. That's not even clear.
No. So queen d5 played, and that protects the knight, attacks the bishop, and attacks the g2 pawn. So c4 will be met by queen takes g2, but then d4. Oh my goodness, this has to.
Wow, that would be wild. c4, queen takes g2, d5. And then queen takes h1, bishop takes c6, check.
Too much to calculate.
Yeah, I'll let them do it.
It looks to my eyes, especially if this were a bullet game, I would be playing that so quickly. But considering it's still blitz, for James, you have so many options. You can play bishop back to e2 and then put the bishop on f3.
I like that. I think that is the best move, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that by Canty after some calculation here. We just don't want to see these players throwing away the game early on. Like c4, d5 could just be losing. And we've seen a number of games so far just thrown away in the opening.
Too much time being spent, though. Like, you just need to move.
Yeah, bishop e2.
I think he's going to play c4 and d5 based on how... Oh, he plays queen b3. I was like, based on the amount of time he's spending.
He wants to castle. What? No, he doesn't. What does he want to do here?
Yeah, he's going to play d5 and then castle and take on c6 and all that good stuff.
Yeah, d5 castle. Wow. So queen takes g2, d5 first or castle? Looks like d5 first.
Yeah, d5 first.
Queen takes h1 and then maybe bishop. Castle there or bishop c6 first. All looks good.
Yeah, pretty wild position. And I saw Levy's face. He was like, first shocked. Then he's like, uh-oh. And then now he's like, okay, now that I've gone through my visceral reactions, let me actually calculate. And maybe queen takes g2 looks almost forced to me.
Yeah, queen takes b3. Keep in mind, bishop takes c6. Check, intermezzo. You cannot get away with just like saying, oh, okay, this looks wild. I don't want wild. Let's trade the queens. That's not an option.
Yeah. And if you move the queen back, and so, well, why'd you allow the queen to come to b3? And if you play bishop d7, I'll just trade queens, and you're stuck with this really ugly pawn structure, the double F pawns that are isolated, the D pawn. So yeah, this seems like you might have to take on g2, and Levy appropriately spending his time figuring out, is that just losing? And if not, hey, that's the move I'm going to go for.
And both players basically spent about a minute or 45 seconds apiece looking at queen b3 for James Canty III and queen takes g2 for Levy.
And bishop d7. Now this is, the thing is, we both were like, oh, we'll let the players figure it out, because it is a really complicated position. But now it's not complicated, and it's not complicated in very favorable ways for James, because look at the pawn structure.
Yeah, and I think Levy has just sort of realized, or he's willing to admit that, hey, these tactical struggles with James, they aren't necessary. Like, why don't I just take a position where the queens are off and I can try to just outplay him on the board? Because those tactical games are not always working out for him.
No, they are not. And even this position with the bad pawn structure, it's not that bad for black.
It's
because
playable,
yeah, for sure. You can trade off some pieces. Your rooks will just try to go to e8, maybe one will go to g8. It's obviously better for white, but it's not so clear cut. And now f5, all right.
Not to go for that trade is perfectly fine here.
And important to note, there's no rook g8, because knight f6 check will fork the king and rook. So, okay, g3. It's one of these positions I'm on where you know that f4 for black is an idea, but you're never sure if you actually should play it.
Absolutely. I was thinking the exact same thing. It's like you play it, and then usually as soon as you do, you regret it. And you're like, why did I just give up a pawn for nothing?
Because you're shattering white's pawn structure, but down in the pawn, but you're also giving white the g file, which is not ideal. So he does move his king to c6. I like that move, actually. And now what?
Yeah, he wants to play rook e8, but knight f6 was simply going to win the exchange there.
Rook e8, there's now knight g7. So it's...
Oh. That's hilarious. Yeah, gotta watch it for all that.
Oh, knight g7.
Knight g7. Yeah, you called it. You called it.
And it's an... Oh, he didn't see it. Wow, that's a big miss, because that was just a free pawn.
Yep. It's weird. I don't mind the move f4. I really like the idea of fixing that pawn as a weakness on f5. So now there is no f4 that we've been talking about. But as you mentioned, it's just only a bad move because knight g7 was missed. Now if you go knight g7, he's probably seen it by now, but there's knight e7 to cover.
Right. And so can you take on h7, or is f6 trapping the knight? No, you move your bishop out the way. Bishop anywhere. Bishop. Oh, actually.
Bishop f2, but then takes and bishop e7.
Yeah, there's also just king d7. So oh, nice move though. Rook takes e3.
Okay.
Oh, it's
yeah,
too
I was
wild.
gonna say rook takes e3, takes bishop takes f4.
And then rook e1, and you have king d2, and the f6 pawn is hanging, so your knight gets out. Like, what in the world?
Yeah, I think he needed to start with the rook there. I think that was important.
Yeah, because this nice move, rook h8 takes on h2 with check.
Great. King d3.
And after bishop e3, okay, king f3 now. And then you have rook e1, rook e6 check. Whoa, what? You give the f4 pawn. No, that's bad.
But he simply forgot that king g3 or king g5 hits the knight. You don't win a knight or anything there. Yeah,
he was shaking his head, and now that g pawn is going to try to roll up the board.
9 seconds. This is literally a time scramble, and chances for both sides. The eval are right in the middle, just a pin drop.
Okay, knight h4 check, king g5. Then I can go back to f3. Maybe we'll get a draw in this way, or the king actually go up the board. Maybe. Whoa, takes the pawn.
Levy wants more, and he can even sack the ball rook g2.
Okay, rook
this
f1.
Is good for black.
Only move is rook f1. Now, king somewhere. You need to get
5.
Okay, so g6 is coming. This is scary.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's gonna sack and take on c3. I think. I like the idea.
Wait, what's this? 96 is his plan. But at c5, take it.
Well,
take
only
it
black wins this.
Yes. Yes. Oh, wait, now black's definitely going to win.
Yep, it's winning for sure.
I think James really struggles in time trouble. 94.
Oh my goodness.
But
94 was winning the c pawn. Might have still been winning for black, but yeah, needed to be played.
Yeah, now this
is over.
It's a win for Levy.
Yeah.
I think this is a sign of things to come, if you ask me. Just the scrambles pretty much
Yep.
every single one that's been a 50-50 has gone Levy's way.
Yeah, and that means that we are going to be heading into the break as you see Levy get up from his chair there. He is, emphatic to take the lead at the end of the portion, which means we're going to the bullet, 1-game lead for International Master Levy Rosman. And I mean, what do you reflect on in that 3-minute portion if you're James Canty?
What you have to do, it's just comes down to one word: move. Because he's really been deliberating, and that's great. He's trying to play the best possible chess. But even in great positions, he then leaves himself with not enough time, and he doesn't feel confident in the scrambles. So I think what James needs to do is just play these openings that he's getting pretty decent positions out of, and just go. You are not, unless you blunder in the first 10 moves, you're not going to lose in that period of time, and you need the remaining time to be able to win when the position is complicated.
Yeah, this is going to be a very exciting conclusion. And just as a fan and a commentator here in the booth with you, Robert, I am so happy that this match has done more than live up to expectations, because this is a very tight match. 1 game separates these guys. And unless someone gets completely blown out in the bullet portion here, this is going to be a very exciting finish.
It certainly will, and the bullet remains. But for now, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will have the final time control and the remainder of this I'm Not a GM Speed Chess Championship match brought to you by Chess.com. Just want to remind all of our viewers and streamers out there that Arena Kings Season 6 is underway. It started on Monday. There will be another event just 2 days from now on Friday. Get involved, have some fun, and play against some of your favorite personalities. It will be a great time. Speaking of great time, we're having a blast here as Gotham Chess takes on GM Canty. It is a lead for Gotham. Levy Roslin up 7.5, 6.5. Amon, you and I were just talking during the break. It is a lead for Levy. He's the high-rated 2 bullet players. Would you say that James has a chance, or has it gone by at this point?
I think it would be insulting at this point to not say that James has a chance. He was the underdog in Blitz, the same way that he's going to be the underdog in Bullet, but I think he has come to play on match day. He's been playing some great chess, and whenever he's lost a game, he's bounced back with a win. So, of course, Levy could come out of the gate in this Bullet portion blazing and just really take it to him and show why he's a high-rated player. But what we've seen in this match so far is James can absolutely compete. So don't count him out of this Bullet portion. He's only down a single game, Robert.
Absolutely. And you and I, during the break, we were looking up the history. And against Teddy Coleman, Levy actually lost the Bullet portion of that match despite being much higher rated. So here we are. What? What?
The disrespect. He says, get that Trumpowski the hell out of here.
And did you see Levy laugh? He's just like, what is this? There's no way that was on purpose, was it?
But James didn't even blink. He was like, yep, knight g8, yep.
Now that is a power move. Just knight back to g8. And
looked at that one in the break.
Do you think that was a mouse slip of sorts? Like, what just happened?
But what mouse slip?
I don't know, but nobody voluntarily goes knight back to g8.
That's wild. If he wins his first game off that is just a power statement.
I mean, James has a terrible position. He's down a couple tempi, and his position is bad. Knight f5 comes in.
Yeah, e6 was needed there. Oh, bishop f8. We have the second piece returning home, Robert.
Oh, that's a sad move to play, but maybe it's not as terrible as you would think. E6, okay.
Knight g3 to h5, I expect.
Oh, that's pretty painful because black needs to play like knight b6, bishop b7, queen e7, and castle long. You definitely an a6. You don't have time to play this slow. Bishop h5 is coming.
Yeah, this is gonna hurt.
Oh, bishop h5, rook h7, holding on for dear life.
Needs to be, and it is.
Queen f2, something like that. Maybe rook f2 and rook f1. This looks very painful.
Yeah, even something slow, as you said. Rook f2, rook f1.
Whoa.
Rook takes f7.
Okay.
He's got nothing to worry about. An e5 he wants.
Yeah, e5. But trade queens?
Yeah, it's reasonable.
Okay. There's some chance here. It's still great for white, of course, and we see the evaluation bar say as much. But bishop e7.
Bishop e7 takes and then bishop d6 or something.
Okay, so bishop d7, I think you have to play. And if ef6, but bishop f8.
Yes. Wow. Nicely played by Canty. He's pretty much equalized the position here, and he's up on time.
What in the world has happened in this game? Rook b8? That b file has come in so handy to James throughout this match.
Yes, absolutely. Bishop c6. That looks like the move.
There's also h5, h4 ideas if you're not careful to try to
a5, a4 as well.
a5, a4, a3. That's actually a really good plan. Here goes h5.
Yep.
Wait.
Takes and takes g2.
Yeah, take f6.
Ooh,
okay.
Take f6 is better.
King e7. Wait, that knight's kind of trapped over there, isn't it? But now
knight f4. Bishop check.
Oh, rook b2 is happening. So king d3.
Knight e6 though.
So king d3 and knight e6 check as a response is so frustrating to deal with.
That is so tough.
Can you go bishop e5? No, it goes king f6 back.
Knight h5 check.
Bring that king to e7. You have to. What?
Oh, knight g6.
Knight g6, knight e7. Oh.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
What is happening here? So you can't really trade rooks.
No, he's going to go back.
Rook b2?
Rook check, rook d2.
Nice.
Keep the rooks on. You have to.
Rook b1. You just have to move. You have to play for Levy's time trouble here.
It's his own time trouble.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Oh my goodness. He needs a move. King e4 is a good one.
Rook g7.
Ooh. Check. King e3.
Just
Keep
resign.
going.
Just resign. Resign. I'm telling you. Okay. Levy just needs to get checkmated.
I don't know. I would play this, but it's probably a bad idea.
Well, the thing is, I'm trying to save match clock, but you're right. There's only one pawn remaining. So if you lose that pawn, then the
Yeah,
game is suddenly a draw.
It's not insane.
No, rook G1, rook G1. Putting the rook behind the pawn was good.
Yep. Oh, he can't just keep checking you. Now I would resign it.
Yeah, it's about
Now
that
I
time.
think I
Knight
resign.
F2 check happening, and or King F2, King G1 even.
Yeah. Now I would absolutely resign for the match. But I sort of get why he's playing on. Basically, he sees that one pawn. He's like, just get that pawn off the board. You know, it will be a draw.
I would have resigned so long ago. It's wasting a lot of match
strategy.
time. Yeah. And
yeah.
Oh. We both have the same exact reaction. Yeah,
yes.
that's not the move.
Just a small and
honestly though, Canty after playing Knight G8, which we're gonna have to ask him. That could
we
not
gotta
have
ask
been
about that.
Oh gosh. And he plays this version of the French, the Monte Carlo variation. And this is interesting because you get an isolated pawn, but you get really good activity around it.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, hang on. In bullet, you take on H3 every time. So this is like how Magnus lost to Bu Zhangzi. There's like famous attacking game where he just sacked him. It's like, what are you gonna do about it?
Wait, so does this work? Isn't White gonna play 3 now and just
there? Queen G3 doesn't work. Queen H3.
Queen H3
looks playable.
Okay, he played Queen G2.
There's Knight D4.
Wow, this is wild. Knight F3 check is a devastating threat because Queen H2 mate will follow. So you probably have to.
I think you got to grab it.
Take it,
and then Bishop F4. And just give up the rook or the exchange rather. Wow,
okay.
What a move!
He covers the F3 square. Wow, that's
it covers E2.
That is a tough move to play when you don't have much time. So if C6, okay, he moves knight to F5, so never mind.
Very reasonable. So Bishop D2.
Yeah, Bishop D2, I like that as well. Just get the bishop out of the way. Wow, this is a wild game. And James down a lot of clock.
Yeah, James is laser focused right now. And Levy's just sipping water like it's
He's more used to playing these bullet scrambles, so that's going to come in handy. It has been the better player between the two in the bullet so far. And okay, Bishop F3. He's trying to get rid of some of the attackers, but just take on E3 a bunch of times. Yeah. F4 hangs.
Yeah, there's also Bishop C5 to pin the E3. Okay, Bishop.
This doesn't look as bad as it once did.
Yeah, the knight's going back like that. I mean, it's all about time at this point. I think James has done a fantastic job defending in the end.
He really has. He has all these pieces towards his king. Although F5 is a great move. Bishop C2, yeah, knight G4. Then knight comes to G3, I guess. You have to.
Yeah.
Okay, knight. He didn't want to.
Check.
So knight E3, pawn takes knight G4, and then E knight moves out the way. This is such a wild position.
My goodness.
It's too cluttered. So he fixes some of that.
I agree with this decision. Even just like G6 or like knight G4, Bishop C5, those type of moves.
Yeah. And I think that no matter what, James is going to bring his knight to either D or F4.
10 seconds apiece.
Yep. F5 is going to be hanging something like Bishop E3, knight E6 kind of stuff.
Yep.
He plays E4. That's
that is a risky move.
Yeah. Can't really get behind that.
Knight E3 minimum.
Knight E3. All right. That makes sense. Rook takes E4 now. This is opening up for both sides. And actually, watch out.
This for white. Oh no, we needed rook E4.
Yeah, rook E4 looked better to trade off some pieces. No, E1's hanging. Oh, it's hanging.
Yeah, that's just it. This game.
Whew.
But it is clear if he had played rook takes E4 there, Robert, that absolutely could have led to even a checkmate for white.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all those tactics, and that's what happens to us chess players, right? We see this and we're like, wait, what just happened? Let me remember. Did that work? And the next game is fully underway. So Queen takes B2 here by Canty. You're down 3 points on the scoreboard. You just have to take the pawn and hope that you live to tell the tale.
Yeah, and let's be clear. In bullet, all the games that we've seen so far are going to work out just that little bit better for Levy, just because of the fact that the time is lower. And is he even going to castle? I think he's going King F1 and Knight G5 ideas.
Yeah, because you try to open up the H file so that rook is dominating in attacking.
I think this is a crush. I think this might be a crush for Levy. Bishop C3, G3, Knight G5.
Yeah, I did like that move Bishop F4 because at least it creates some threats and cause some confusion. But you're right, Bishop C3 just to get out of it. Don't trade pieces. The queen has to go, but where does it go to? Ooh, Queen E7, Rook C2 to E2 with tempo.
Yeah.
Oh, rook b1 played. Okay. This suddenly isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Bishop e5, you have to. And black has an extra pawn, but white has the bishop pair and what could be a nasty attack.
Yeah, I still think king g2, rook e1, f4 it's going to be like really rough here.
Yeah,
but yeah, you got to take this. Can't take that and play this game out. That's how you got to try.
So he plays knight f6, but he just gives up the pawn in the center, and now he doesn't even have extra material for his troubles.
Right.
So he's going to have to rely on some kind of b5, something trying
maybe
to break
take and bishop g4, or just initially. I think taking is maybe a bit better, but
Levy
the idea is the
time.
same.
Yeah, Levy just in time to get king g2 because that bishop could sit on f3. That'd be a problem for white's coordination, but he got his king.
Bishop's almost trapped, by the way.
Yeah, it's a close call.
Takes f3. There is rook e3 as a resource.
And not only does it save the day, it actually just turns black's position into a promising one. So, good move, knight d7. Levy sitting and thinking. He is
maybe
down
rook
under.
Back to e1.
Tough move to play, but I like it.
Yeah, tough move to play. I agree.
He does it. Wow, great move.
Yeah, that's a classy move there. f3 intended next with g4, h5. He's going to whip that out, I think.
Although the problem is that c4 pawn on light square, the knight and bishop can team up. So if somehow this bishop gets some open space from d7, it can apply pressure. Knight a4 happens, a6, b5, likely a follow-up.
And you called it. That's going to be on the board. And these two bishops, I mean, they're going to be dangerous in the endgame, but they're more dangerous with the queen on the board. And how about 3 seconds for Levy?
Yeah, he's had no time. So many different games in this match. And here, just take on e4, play rook on d8.
Rook d8.
Looks good.
Yep.
He's thinking.
If you don't play rook d8, d7, rook d8 is killer with bishop d7 check.
So f6 here, and if bishop f4, g5. You kick the bishop away, you win the d6 pawn.
This is huge. Look at that time as well.
Yeah, and the knight on a4 is
seconds.
And the knight a4 is a hero, protecting that c5 pawn.
Oh, but here comes Levy, and slowing down is James Canty. We've seen this before.
We have. And he put the knight in the wrong square. Knight b2 would have allowed the knight to go to d3 with check to fork the bishop if it captured on c5. So still,
this is okay for Canty. He's at least got a draw here, although
he might win this.
Yeah, he's got to put pawns on light squares.
d5. Oh, he didn't do it. Now his knight's trapped.
He's gonna lose. Oh my gosh, he's gonna lose.
How?
He's lost this game. Oh, that is devastating. That might be everything right there, and he knows. He's shaking his head. Wow.
Yeah, that's that. Wow. That's one of those games where you can't fathom how you lost. You were up a pawn in an endgame where there were like 6 pieces on the board, and yet his knight got trapped, and the g3 pawn would have been protected. So a win for Levy Rozman, and he's just running away with this match.
He's got to basically. James has to start winning right now. He has to start winning because the time is going to decide this match. The match time. 13 minutes and ticking down.
Yeah, and I mean, I like what he's doing here. You need to win. You need to win quickly. Let me sacrifice one pawn, sacrifice a second, break open the position, and if you take on f5, bishop g2, whoa. Okay, I guess the d4 pawn was pinned there, so it works out.
Wow, and getting e4 is huge. If white could somehow break with c4, that would shatter the entire pawn structure, shake up things entirely. But look at these pawns, h5, g4, d5, e4. So frustrating.
Yeah, the bishop's just locked in there on g2, and you somehow can't get the base pawn, the d5 pawn can't be taken. Oh,
h4, nicely done.
So some kind of knight c5 makes sense to me, but Levy should ignore it. It's like knight c5 just to try to open up the d file and get to the d5 pawn, but
exactly
closing the position down.
I think the knight is trying to go to e3, but a bishop on f4 will make that so hard to do. And he's trying to get c4, but b4 says nope.
It's amazing how Levy's pieces just completely dominate here.
Bishop f4 to g5, knight f6.
Bishop takes e4 is a threat, so don't fall for that. Bishop e4.
6.
Right? So, okay, he stopped it. And this member, king d6 also worked. No, just take on e3.
Take that was good enough. King d6, a great move as well. Levy's kind of in cruise control at the moment. He's stopping to hydrate a little bit.
Yeah, now the match is completely out of control for James Canty. And, well, I think if you're Levy, you look at the score, it's about to be 5-point lead, only 11 minutes left, and you're the one dominating the bullet portion. You must be thrilled considering how this match looked just 5 games ago.
Exactly. It's a great point. I mean, White's kind of pretending to hold on here, but the position is actually so lost. Like rook c8, I think he's probably good enough.
Yeah, can't protect your c2 pawn. Rook g3 can happen at any moment as well.
I think king e7 was maybe better, but this is solid. Rook g3.
Rook g3, bishop d2, bishop c3 check. White can't move. Completely frozen.
Bishop e3.
And just he's finding everything now. Just every move just that takes the life out of James's pieces.
I think knight g4 is simple enough. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for that.
Indeed, and the nice trap still.
Oof. h3 is even playable.
Bishop d2 to c3 and h3.
I think h3 rook g1 just wins the knight.
You're right. Oh wait, that was a little blunder there. It looks
a little blunder. Yeah, he's got 3 seconds, but
you gotta move.
He's got to move. That's for sure.
Wow, he keeps doing that. And rook e3. Did James somehow survive this?
King c1. King c1.
Yeah. Okay, king
Levy that was a big blunder, series of blunders.
Wow.
c3, get a pass pawn.
Yep.
c4, same idea.
And this should be a draw with best play, but when you're playing bullet, there is no best play. It's just
no, not at all. King is coming to f5 and e4. This is scary.
Wow, whose pawn is going to be better? You give up the d pawn, but you push your pawn to b6.
King c5.
King c5.
I like what he did there.
f3 rook d4 check. So you have to watch out for that. And here b6.
Take on d5. d6.
Yeah, you can take on d5.
It all works.
Wait, but if you can't allow that queen. If you allow that queen, you're going to check.
Oh, now he's got a rook f5. He's covering him. He's going to at least get a draw here.
And king c7, and that's a draw.
Wow. Whew. So a huge comeback. That game was over, Robert.
That's what happens as commentators when you call a game before it actually concludes. The other results happen, and here we have another wild position with knight to d5. He's giving up a knight because the bishop on d5 is hanging.
Just crazy. Takes knight back to c6, f4. This looks like a position that probably both players wanted from the opening, honestly. Bishop d3.
Kind of looks like black should be pretty happy right now, unless you can get your knight to d4 and bishop to e3. But I was a queen b6 and your bishop is stuck. Oh, okay.
Looks like a good move. Takes back and then play b. Now he gets it with bishop e3 though. This could be concerning.
Although f6, right? Standard French type of.
Have to play f6, and he does. Good.
He does, yeah. And that center's collapsing, and the white kings in the center take on e5. Steal a pawn. Don't mind if you do, right?
Absolutely. Bishop d7. I mean, there were pawns for the taking there.
And some kind of queen h4 comes to mind.
Knight takes e5 still was fine.
Yeah.
Bishop on e3 was hanging.
He could take it anyway. And at long last, it's gone.
Okay, so he's just playing rook e1, maybe king h1, bishop f4, something like that from Levy.
Although trading off pieces has to be.
Knight takes e6 and bishop takes b6. Maybe an option. I don't know.
No, but it's bishop e6 and then bishop takes h3. So you just keep the exchanges happening there.
Yeah. Yeah, there might have been like a big
calculate.
It's bullet, guys.
Yeah, just take with the pawn.
Take everything. Take d7, take b6.
Right, and e-balls.
But then it's queen b8 if you take a3.
And maybe you should make the diamond structure. Play b5.
Yeah, b5 for sure.
Oh, wait,
pawn.
That's hanging. Yeah, that's not
good. That is bad. Protected past a pawn here. That might be it. That might be the game right there.
If that pawn can get to a5, okay, so that's actually
rook b8 doesn't work. Queen takes a3. Queen takes c3.
Maybe rook e6 because you just have to trade off things. But
yep,
so this is just good for Levy. Levy, in these critical moments, he just finds a way to like slip away from pressure and then find the counter shots when they're available to him.
Clutch.
Yeah, he has been. And let's see here. If you take on c6, rook takes, and the rook's going to try to go to g6. So he puts his rook on d1, which makes sense.
Looks like a good move.
James is just down to the final
Yeah.
seconds.
The problem is he can't trade. I like Queen A7, but there's just nothing you can offer after Rook D5 here.
Well, you trade and take on A4. And
Ooh, Rook D5, Rook D8, Rook D1 check. Queen check.
That was nasty. Nice find there.
And Queen takes, and yeah, Canty doesn't have any hope here because the back rank's covered, and Levy can just close his eyes and push those pawns.
Yeah, now it's easy.
1 second ticking down. Like at this point, it is just too clinical for Levy Rosman as he is going to push those 2 pawns up the board, and they cannot be stopped.
Nope. And now it is a 5-game lead with just under 6 minutes remaining. The match is Levy's, and well, we have some fun opening with the Bishop's opening and then early D4 just to cause some confusion.
Yeah, we needed maybe more of this in general from him in this match, but it looks like this is going to be Levy's match. There's pretty much no mathematical way that Canty comes back because there's just not enough time on the clock to get those games in.
Right. And we sort of have like an Evans gambit. But
with an E5 though.
Yeah, this has to be bad. Queen D5 was coming, so that's why he played D5 and Queen A4. I don't know how this works, but Queen A4 check at some point is going to be painful. Like Queen A4.
But you can just go takes on F6, takes on C4, Queen trade, take on G7, Bishop D5. I'm sure that's also like pretty reasonable.
Looks good. He plays Bishop B3, the calm move, which after 94, I guess he's going to castle, just like give up all his pawns. Yeah.
We know the vibe here.
Yeah, we know what's happening. And look at this, Bishop A3, your typical don't castle, can't get away with that. Take all my pawns. Like your king stuck in the center. Me too. I'm here for this.
Yeah. 19 seconds ticking down here.
Yeah, now like knight D4, F4, F5 type of stuff. What I would go for.
What we saw at the end of the Alexandra and Greg match in this event was Alexandra got this amazing checkmate in the final bullet game. It's almost like once you know you've won the match, you kind of let your guard down a little bit. Like if you're Levy here, maybe he wouldn't have taken this position if the match was on the line.
Right. You can just play whatever you want because the match is yours. You're moving on to the next round. It's totally true. And Queen D3 played. I think Levy completes his development with Knight D7. And yeah, this
absolutely. C4. I mean, E5 hanging, Knight G4 coming, Bishop back to C7.
Yep. And
yeah, there's going to be Knight F3 check, like Puzzle Rush style.
Yeah, Queen H2. Knight F3 now. Takes Queen H3.
I'm sure it works. Queen H3?
Oh, this move order hurts too because it's Knight F3 check.
Oh, Knight F3.
Knight F3, Queen H2.
30. Levy. Oh my goodness, he doesn't see it. Knight F3. Would have been beautiful.
Yeah, he's still cruising here.
I mean, he's still winning, yeah. But that was a nice Puzzle Rush finish. Knight F3 check, uncovering mate on H2.
Isn't that frustrating in Puzzle Rush when you find a winning tactic, but it's not the most winning, right? Because there was checkmate there. Levy's obviously crushing right now, but he wouldn't have solved it correctly as he didn't get the check.
Yeah, if this was exactly in a Puzzle Rush competition, no, that wouldn't be good enough.
So what's he up now? Rook and, an exchange and 3 pawns?
3 pawns, yeah. Bishop E5, probably the most crucial move in the position. Looking to trade.
Yeah, getting tricky, but not tricky enough.
Takes H6. Hoping for
not so fast. Yeah, so it's 2.5 minutes left. I think we'll get one more game after this one concludes, and Levy just liquidating as he is up 3 pawns in endgame B3, A4, A3. It's
this will be it. And as you mentioned, 2 minutes left. Probably one more game for these players.
Yeah. And it's interesting because James is clearly flustered. You saw him just kind of be like, nothing's going right for me in the bullet. And the score has just ballooned thanks to this quickest time control. But if you're James, if you're going to lose the match, I think this is absolutely the way you want to lose the match. You don't want to, essentially be crushed in the longer time controls and then make up some points in the bullet. So he should be proud of himself. He should keep his head hanging high because he played a great match. And I think what he'll regret, honestly, is some of these earlier games in the time scrambles. He just wasn't able to work it out, especially the game where Levy found that stalemate and it was a draw rather than a win for James.
Yep. No, that's a great point. And he definitely should be feeling good about this game. Levy also, I mean, who knows what his game plan coming in was, but I'm sure he knew at the back of his mind that, hey, I am a fantastic bullet player and I can win this match in that time control as long as I stay steady in the blitz. Like, he might not be happy with how the blitz went for him, but at the same time, yeah, I'm sure it was a little bit part of his game plan to crush the bullet portion.
Yeah, and we saw really two different Gotham chesses. We saw the early Gotham chess who was struggling against James's tactics, and James really played very well there. And then we got a sort of positional crushing Gotham, where in those two games in the 3-minute portion with the white pieces, he just was kind of in cruise control. He just dominated the board and James had no chance. And then, of course, he showed his full might here in the bullet and has taken over this match.
Yep, exactly. Here it looks like there's just going to be a knight move into a free piece. I'm trying to see how to get out of that.
Yeah, that's wait. So take on e6 and bishop d5 kind of stuff. But knight g3. You also hit the rook on f1. The queen. On
That's
f2.
why knight f5 was such a good move.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if Levy's just looking at the match clock, seeing there 10 seconds left. He can just resign at some point after the 10 seconds.
Yeah, he wants to make sure that time goes to 0. No sense playing another game, honestly, for either of these players as the match is over.
For sure. And well, what is black up right now? Looks like a lot. It's an exchange.
Yeah, knight f6 looks like the end of the game, followed by d5. C4 is resourceful.
Yeah, it feels like Levy's found so many ideas like that where it looks like the game should just be over and he plays him like c4 just to give himself chances, and that's completely necessary if you're going to win a match like this. Okay, trade queens.
living on the edge there. Probably you have to take the queen and go a4 as white.
Yeah. And then what's black up exactly? Like an exchange and 2 pawns?
Yeah. And hey, I called it. I mean, if he ends up winning this game, I was just saying that's somehow how these matches tend to end. Is the guy who's going to end up losing the match. Oh, it's funny that he's still winning.
Right, like knight e6 check and queen. You win the rook, but then the c pawn promotes. That's awesome. That's fun. Promoting to a bishop.
That's a classy way to end. That's the comedy we expect from Levy there.
For sure. And for Canty, ending on a win that at least feels better than what had previously happened. We are going to grab the players. They'll join us for post-match interviews.